Hey y'all, I'm Ada K. And I must confess, I'm a trial junkie. I enjoy viewing trials as if I was the seated juror. So grab a cup of java, get comfy, and join me as we hop into court. And don't forget to comment, like, and most importantly, subscribe. And if you're really enjoying the channel, please join our membership. Good morning. Hallelujah. I made it. Oh, how I love thee. Let me count the ways. Y'all, it has been raining off and on. And, well, all hell's breaking loose out there. So I can't hear thunder. I can't hear lightning or whatever that is. And I can't see it because we're in a dark room. But if y'all hear a massive bang, let me know because that's not a good thing. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Andrielle. Good morning, Miss Kevin. Y'all take the poll. I've got a poll going. Let's see if y'all want to try the poll. Let's go. What, baby? I know. I go live and you come over and want my attention. Go, please. Thank you. I think she's telling me, Mama, it raining hard. I'm seeing it on radar. We're in a red zone. So anyway, hopefully my stream won't be interrupted. By the way, I told you I was going to wear it. I did. Let's get into our birthdays. Y'all, we've got people at birthdays this morning, and I want to wish them a happy birthday. But I'm going to tone down the music just a little bit. It's a little too early for me. Too early for me. Okay, let me bring this over. Y'all ready?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Yay.
to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Natalia, LaDawn, Michaela, Melissa, happy birthday. Aaron, Erica, Gloria, oh my gosh, Art, happy birthday. Wanda, Colleen, happy birthday. Susan, may it be blessed. Kim, happy birthday. Marjorie and Stephanie, happy birthday. So I pray it's a blessed one and y'all enjoy it. Good morning. We are ready, sort of. Trial. I'm still waking up. Are y'all awake? Are we ready? I didn't even put earrings on today. I'm like, too early in the morning for that. I hope y'all slept well. I did not. I woke up almost every hour. I guess I was worried about waking up and getting here. In the world? Oh, the cat's trying to get in. saw something. It's a little paw coming under the door. I know this is early. It's 8:30 for you. It's 7:30 for me. Oh, that feels so good. That really does feel good, Joe. I am watching the live feed. We have no movement. Miss Kevin, did you see the little tumbler? It's hard to tell that it's glittery at that size. Uh, the boys start band camp, so I'm trying to get used to getting up early again. What grade? Sensei, what? What's wrong? Go lay down. I don't know why she is alerting me. I shouldn't have anybody in the front. Let me make sure. Yeah, I don't. I have to keep everything up on camera. Y'all, it's not fun. I'm not used to being here this early in the morning. Okay, there are comments. I can pin yours, a freshman, junior, and freshman. Okay, yeah, I did it, but my children were exactly 4 years apart. 4 years from 4 months and 4 days. And oh my gosh, I did 8 years in a row and I miss it. I'm so jealous at EDB right now because she is doing it and her son is auditioning for the drum corps international. Yeah, we have about a month until school starts. Yeah. I start school the 27th of August, I believe. I think. I got some interesting news, but I can't share it yet. We'll see if it comes to fruition. If it does, I'm unavailable for 10 days in December. So, did y'all see the poll? I started a poll. Did y'all see it? Do I need to pull it up? I'm trying to figure out what we should call our community. Okay, 1, and 1, and 50% ultimate jurors. Ah, good. If y'all have any other suggestions, let me know. Because I'm trying to figure out what we can do for merch. I mean, it's hard you can't beat law nerds. Sorry. Would love to.
A former ballerina charged in the death of her husband.
So that she attacked her
and the trailer. Okay, they're waiting for court. It said it was supposed to start at 7:30. It is now 7:42. This judge does not start on time, obviously. Yeah, we're getting heavy rain, guys. I can feel the vibrations in my hearing aids. Oh, my daughter. God love her. She's so sweet. It's okay, baby. It's bad weather. Stay. She's with her boyfriend's family right now, having a breakfast date. Court watchers on next are saying 8:45. The jury was asked to be here at 8:30. Really? I could have had another 15 minutes sleep. What the heck are you doing to me? Well, let's Miss Kevin, since it's just us mods on at the moment. Miss Andriel, I want you to see something for the first time. Tell us what you think. Here we go. July has been an amazing month, And to end the month, we're doing a subscription campaign. And if you want to win a free Starbucks tumbler, just click the subscribe button. That's it. It's easy. Then leave in the comments, I sub, so we can get you in the drawing. The winner will be announced July 31st. Good luck, everyone, and thank you for subscribing. What you think about that, my dear? I need to go into the giveaway tool. Oh, I forgot I had to do that. Start collecting comments. That's there. It's good to go. We're here. Oh, you did? I'm sorry, I forgot. My bad. My bad. And then we have our membership launch. We've got that. We got our closing. We're good. We are good to go. Yeah. I am missing a background. For those of you who are with me waiting for court, I appreciate you so much. Courts don't always start on time. They don't always do what we want them to do, which is typical. But we are here and waiting. For those of you who don't know, this is a person who is charged with ending the life of her spouse after they were married only after 13 days of dating. 13 days of dating. I'm like, y'all, that's bad. That's short. That's fast. Very fast. So that is where we are. She I don't know much, but all I know is that she wanted to start a ballerina school, and in the process of getting that going, she found herself pregnant and then was very sick during the pregnancy and accused her husband of poisoning her. And then the baby was born. If I got the story correct, he didn't even know the baby was born. And then he came over to the house to help move, and then she ended his life. And that's where we are. The jury consists of 6 jurors, 3 alternates. Whoa, that's a small jury. Do we know if it's male, female? What do we know? Oh my gosh. No wonder Sensei's a little anxious. Sensei, lay down. Come here. Lay down. Place. Right here. No, you're okay. She's usually not this antsy. So the jury is 6 people and 3 alternates. That is interesting. Okay. Small court. Oh, good. Thank you, Miss Kevin. We, for those of you who don't know, the Karen Reed little hearing, 5-minute hearing happened yesterday. They have set her new trial. They've set the new trial for the 27th of January. The 9th of August, they're going to come back and they're going to hear spoken motions, speaking motions, motions in verbage concerning all the other stuff. The jury, the dismissal of indictments 1 and 3. So that's, that was a little disappointing. I was ready for it to be on. I need to give a call to somebody, make sure she can join us. If not, that's okay. But we'll see. I'm going to mute for a second. Mute. Oh, no Getty. I'm going to pull up. Oh my gosh. Wow. We are getting it, y'all. That blue little dot is me in the very center. We're getting it good. Usually the storm, this is the whole front. Usually storms kind of go around us because of the way of the land. So that's good that we are getting rain because we normally don't. We normally don't get rain. Have y'all seen? Yeah, that's true. So you only need 12 if it's a first degree. Okay, that works. And the court watcher said that, okay, they'll let us know. That sounds like a fabulous idea to me. They should be starting any minute. I bet they start at 9. I bet they start at 9. Do I have anything else to show y'all that I created? Nope. We, since Miss Andrielle, y'all are on, we are going to be giving away Starbucks tumblers. Not necessarily this one. If you want this one and you win, then I'll give you one just like it. But it depends on the availability of what's in the stores at the time. So the state of Florida, I should say, so they are just using the jury of 9 to 6 delivery. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Cool. It's a very slow morning, you guys. I'm sorry, my energy is not better. This chick ain't used to being up at 6:30 in the morning anymore. And the rain is pouring. I don't know if you can hear it in the microphone on this metal roof, but it is just pouring. I can't hear it, but I feel the vibrations. Hi, Erica. I, I y'all, I have followers on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Twitch, and they send me now this one. I bought this one. Shh, don't tell my kids. But some of these are gifts. Some of them I buy with my points. I don't usually pay cash for mine. But hi, Erica, 8843. Thank you for joining. Please share this with all your friends, guys. We are having a subscription. What is it called? Campaign. We're in the election year. Campaign. We ain't talking about election here. It's a hot mess. I watched the video yesterday of our wonderful head of Secret Service, and her interview did not go good. Oh, yay, we have court. We have court. We have sound. We got sound. We got sound. I'm all the way up. We'll see when it kicks in. She looks like a ballerina, very fragile, very delicate. The way she was dressed yesterday, it really looked like a Mennonite. She looks very nervous, and she very well should be. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about that. Miss Kevin, maybe I should have you hop on and help engage my brain. Can y'all hear me okay? I am hitting this as if I was a juror who just barely knows anything. So I'm filling out my note thing. Oh, today's July the 23rd, y'all. Where did July go? July has flown past us. It has flown. This whole year has flown. We were talking about the Christmas decorations already in Hobby Lobby, and they started putting those up at the end of March, first part of April. Miss Kevin, did y'all sleep well? Did the little one sleep? Oh, no, it's okay, Miss Kevin. I'm just kind of being half silly. I just can't engage my brain yet. I think I'd be actually had a good night's sleep.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good
While you're
morning.
getting settled in, we're back on the record in State of Florida versus Ashley Christina Benefield, 2020 CF 3014. It's Tuesday morning.
I
Getting
can't
ready to begin the
interpret, but I'll
first
give
day
you
of
that.
trial with preliminary instructions and opening statements, and then we'll start
Captions are
calling
on.
witnesses.
I'm going to place them and get going.
They're bringing the jury up right now. State, is there anything we need to cover before we bring them in?
No. Yes. It's not really. Sorry. I have the jury instructions, for redactions and, transcripts. I just have to find them, Judge, but they're.
I have both of those.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I prepared them in case you needed them. Thank you.
Anything before we bring the jury in?
Not before opening statements. I do want to alert the court that we want the opportunity to address Your Honor on some of the witnesses that the state intends to call this morning before they actually testify for some motions.
All right.
Let's address it now.
So it would probably be better to do that now, I would think. Otherwise, I'm going to have to send the jury out. We'll have argument, then we'll call the witness. Then I send them out. Each time you're going to make argument.
Sure. Whatever the court's preferences. So
Now,
what
We're not
we
starting
have
well.
worked out between the parties, Your Honor, is that we're going to provide the other side with a list of the witnesses that we respectively intend to call for the next day of trial. So pursuant to that informal agreement, we received yesterday a list by the state of several of the witnesses that they intend to call today. I don't know that it's in any particular order, but one of them is Tommy Benefield, another is Eva Benefield, and Alicia Benefield, Byers rather, and several others. And we have some concerns that we want to raise with the court before the witnesses actually testify, to everything ranging from relevance. For example, Your Honor, Eva Benefield, with all due respect to her having lost her father, we do not see anything that she has to say that is relevant.
okay, I don't know who's moving.
We took her deposition and
Okay, whoever is moving is driving me bat crazy. I'm going to try and find another feed.
we concluded that was.
See if it's better.
the case. As to a witness such as Tommy Benefield, his stand your ground testimony was rife with hearsay and information that he did not have personal knowledge of. And of course, we want to preclude that here in the trial.
I'm going to see if another feed's better. Oh, gosh, yes. Yes.
Down the child abuse road. We are extremely concerned with that for several reasons, not the least of which is relevance. This is, after all, a homicide trial. We
Good
don't
placement,
want to go
Trial
down
TV, of
that
your
road
logo.
Chasing whether or not this child was actually abused. We don't think it has any relevance. It's completely collateral.
Good morning, Miss Ronnie.
Charges that Ms. Benefield is on trial for. And most importantly, perhaps, perhaps on the 403's analysis, we firmly believe and we fear. We don't know that it will inure to our
You don't have
detriment
captioning.
any more than it might inure to the state's detriment, but raising the issue of child abuse is going to confuse this jury. It's going to distract their attention from the ultimate issue for which we're here, which is whether or not this shooting was justified. We acknowledge that Ms. Benefield was responsible for the shooting. All that's left is it was either self-defense or it wasn't. And if we go down that rabbit hole, we fear that it's going to create issues in the minds of the jurors that they're going to wonder. For the same reason that Your Honor concluded Kimberly Griffith really had nothing relative to add. The court, we believe, has staked out, if you will, the admissible parameters, that being specifically what law enforcement did as it relates to this. And they, we tend to call Deputy Moreland, for example, who was the deputy that accompanied the CPT team in some of these interviews. But we feel that if it gets into the substance of those statements, it's going to create problems for all of us.
The substance of what statements?
Whether or not there was child abuse, allegations of child abuse, that was never resolved. And I might point out to the court, there were allegations of abuse because of various injuries that the child was returned with, and because of some of the behavior that the child exhibited. But those allegations were not confined to any one place. There were two professionals, a pediatrician as well as a psychologist, that were responsible for some of those allegations. We just don't see what possible relevance that could have. And when you balance the probative value of that against the danger of unfair prejudice, and again, I'm not sure which side the unfair prejudice is going to be directed at, because I think child abuse is going to raise the eyebrows of every one of those, especially we have 5 women on the media panel. And they may very well, it's kind of like the atomic bomb, they may very well feel that the state should have done more and hold it against them. I don't know that they will hold it against us. If they consider the validity of the allegations. And if they consider the validity of the allegations, Judge White, there we are. We're now litigating whether or not there was any truth and whether or not the child was actually abused. And I think it's going to be a mistake, respectfully.
Thank you. Do you have any response?
Judge, I do not intend to ask Barbara Russell or Alicia Byers about child abuse or anything like that. That is not why they're being called. So if that was the concern, then there should not be a concern. As for Eva Benefield, she is going to testify just about background, the tenor of this relationship when they first met and that type of thing, which I think is relevant. Also, Tommy Benefield, I recognize he testified to a lot in the stand your ground that may not be relevant at this point. So I have tailored my questions down to just what he saw and heard.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing I would say in response is, as to Eva Benefield, Your Honor, I think she's being called for the sympathy factor, having lost a father. There's nothing about the background and about her being in the house periodically that sheds any relevance on this. We took her deposition. She has no knowledge of any of the specific events. The only thing at best that she can say, and this is why the state's calling her, is it's going to be an effort to introduce an appropriate character evidence of Ms. Benefield. Eva Benefield relates in a couple of incidents in her deposition where Ashley Benefield and her mother, Alicia Byers, spoke with Eva and tried to tell her how dangerous her father was. And of course, being a young girl, or for that matter, just out of a sense of loyalty to her father, which is understandable, she was put off by that. And whether or not that is offered in an effort to portray Ashley Benefield and her mother, Alicia Byers, as mean or spiteful, would really be inappropriate character evidence. And we have not opened that door. And as the court well knows, if that doesn't come in, it's inadmissible until such time as we do. So I don't see respectfully any relevance to that, balanced against the sympathy factor. I don't think she's an appropriate witness.
All right. Thank you both very much. Of the four names you mentioned, of course, Tommy Benefield testified at the Stand Your Ground hearing. And while I'm sure you both remember that I had a footnote where I mentioned that during the Stand Your Ground hearing, I allowed quite a bit in because as the court, I think I am capable of knowing what's admissible and what's relevant in making a legal determination. So I allowed a lot more in than I would allow in during this trial. And I hinted at that, or I think I actually stated it pretty expressly in one of my footnotes, that just because it came in at the Stand Your Ground hearing does not mean it's coming in at the trial, subject to appropriate objection. The only person that, of the four you mentioned, that testified at the Stand Your Ground hearing is Mr. Benefield, Tommy Benefield. And State, I just heard you acknowledge that you understand that a lot of his testimony, and I'm not going to put a percentage on it, was allowed, that may not be admissible at trial. Eva Benefield did not testify. I don't know the substance of her testimony, what it's going to be. I've heard about a deposition that was taken, so I know you've had the opportunity to at least depose her and speak with her. Alicia Byers. So I had not even heard that name except reading it off of the witness list yesterday. So Alicia Byers is the defendant's mother.
Yes, sir.
And you're calling her.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, I know Dr. Russell, we had the hearing with her. All I could say at this point is with kind of generic non-specifics. I don't feel like there's really any blanket ruling I can put on any of these particular witnesses. What I heard from the defense was hearsay as to Tommy Benefield. That may very well be the case to some of his testimony, lack of personal knowledge, whatever it might be. Eva Benefield is just a general relevance, and I don't know. I haven't even seen her deposition. I haven't had her at a pretrial hearing, so I don't know what her testimony is going to be. So at that point, I can just say object as you see fit. And Ms. Byers and Ms. Russell, I heard some of Ms. Russell's testimony at a prior hearing, but we didn't get into anything about child abuse or allegations of child abuse. And I have no idea what Ms. Byers is going to say. So all I can say is I'm not aware of a ruling I can make at this point other than just to follow the rules of evidence. Before I bring the jury in, I did want to welcome everybody that's in the audience. Please check now to make sure that your cell phones are silenced or off. There is no recording, audio or video in the courtroom. You can certainly speak with our media relations folks about how to get into the pool feed, or if you want to take pictures, we certainly have a media room where that can be done. There's not to be any cell phone use in the courtroom. I generally don't get too upset if people or they need to send or receive a text related to work or something like that. That's just fine, just as long as it's not distracting. So that allowance can very well change as the trial goes on. I'll also say with a group this size, it's not uncommon for people to need comfort breaks at various times throughout the case. I would ask if we could keep the in and out to a minimum. It can be distracting to the jury. And as I mentioned to the jury yesterday, I want them 100% focused on the testimony and evidence of this case. So if you can try and take your breaks, step out and come back in, whenever we have a break between witnesses, maybe during bench conferences and so forth. I do appreciate it.
Judge, can I raise one other issue? I'm sorry, just as a prophylactic measure, reminding the court and the state of the agreement we have that there should be no reference to the stand your ground hearing. It should instead be reference to just another hearing, and instruct our witnesses accordingly.
I think we should be clear on that.
Yes, and I instructed my witnesses on that.
Thank you.
All right, nobody's invoked the rule. Are we invoking the rule?
Yes. Actually, that raises one last issue, if I can. I think this has to be an ex parte conversation. Very brief ex parte conversation with the court.
Okay.
Let me send a letter to check on everything.
Okay. I'm going to try and get Miss Diane again. So hold on a second. I want to interpret, but I'm not hearing well enough to do it. I just, with my hearing aids and the sound in this cord, I can't. So as soon as Miss Diane joins us, we'll be having her. So I'll just throw this banner up. I know they've been having some bad weather as well. So I'm surmising since she's not getting my
All right, the rule of sequestration has been invoked.
through.
If there are any witnesses who are present in the courtroom, you must leave at this point, as you cannot hear the testimony of other witnesses. You should not discuss your testimony or the questions asked of you with any other witnesses until such time as the court has released you from your subpoena or the trial is over and the jury has been discharged. You may talk to the attorneys, but not if other witnesses are present, and the attorneys cannot tell you what other witnesses have said in court. If you violate the rule of sequestration, you could face contempt proceedings, and if found in contempt of court, you could be ordered to pay a fine, serve time in jail, or both. Each attorney is responsible for advising their witnesses that the rule has been invoked and what this means. If you have a witness that prefers or needs to be instructed on the rule from the court, please advise me well in advance of their appearing so that instruction can occur outside the presence of the jury. I will add a caveat to my normal rule of sequestration admonition that I have been made aware that the case, that the trial is online. I don't know if it's live as we're going or if it's just available online somewhere after the fact. But the rule of sequestration would also prevent witnesses from watching the trial live or watching a recording of the trial. If they're under subpoena, the rule applies to them. Please advise them of such.
And Judge, just to add on to that, we have Tommy Benefield and Eva Benefield. They will be the first two witnesses, and pursuant to Marcy's law, I would ask that they be allowed to sit in for the rest of the trial. They may be called as rebuttal witnesses. There's a slim chance that that would only be if the defendant testifies. So if it pleases the court, if that happens and the defendant testifies, then we can ask them to step out for that testimony. But pursuant to Marcy's law, I believe they have a right to be here after they testify.
You want to be heard on that?
It's pretty timely, Your Honor. Equal treatment. That's all I ask.
What does that mean?
Pursuant to Florida Statute 90.6162A, D, as in Delta, a witness may not be excluded if the witness is, in a criminal case, the victim of the crime, the victim's next of kin, the parent or guardian of a minor child victim, or a lawful representative of such person, unless, upon motion, the court determines such presence to be prejudicial. Do you want to be heard on that? The last prong?
I think given the fact that they're both going to be called as witnesses, yes, I think it would be prejudicial.
State.
And Judge, that's why we're calling them first, so they can testify and get their main testimony out of the way before any of the other witnesses testify. And like I said, the only reason they would be called back is as rebuttal to if the defendant testifies. So I think we can solve the problem if the defendant chooses to testify, if we just remove them from the courtroom for that testimony.
My allergies. Oh, sorry.
All right, the rule is
My
very
allergies are
specific.
horrible.
In a criminal case, the victim of
Sorry.
the crime, the victim's next of kin, the parent or guardian of a minor child victim, or a lawful representative of such person. It's the disjunctive, not the conjunctive. So pick one. You can have the victim's next of kin or a lawful representative of such person.
Next to
Pursuant
kin.
Marcy's law and pursuant to Rule 90.616 D. I don't find that one of their
it up again. I'm sorry, guys. Wow. Oh, gotta turn on camera. But I'm getting us up again. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Let me get the live up again. Once again, I apologize. We haven't had a storm like this in ages. You guys, this is bad. Miss Kevin, can you do this in the background? Sensei, come here.
No communication includes no emailing, text messaging, tweeting, blogging, or any other form of communication. Do not research about the case or look up any information about the case. If you become aware of any violation of any of these rules at all, notify court personnel, one of the deputies, or myself
Thank
of
you.
that violation. During the trial, the court may take recesses and you will be permitted to go about your personal affairs. During these recesses, you must not discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about this case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, tell him or her that you are on the jury trying the case and ask that person to stop. If he or she persists, leave that person at once, and you are to immediately report that matter to the court deputies who will advise me. You cannot use any cell phones, tablets, laptops, or other electronic devices in this courtroom. If you have an electronic device with you, please turn it off or silence it while we are in court. You may use these devices throughout the trial and during recesses, but even if then you may not use your cell phone or electronic device to find out any information about the case or communicate with anyone about the case or the people and places involved in the case. Do not take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings or your fellow jurors. At the end of the case, while you are deliberating, you must not communicate with anyone outside of the jury room. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, the court will receive messages and deliver them to you without delay. I previously gave you my business card, which has my judicial assistant's direct line. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, my judicial assistant will notify the clerk or myself, and then we'll handle the situation as necessary. Was everybody able to give that information to whoever may need it? All right. If not, make sure you do so. This case must be tried by you only on the evidence presented during the trial
in your presence and in the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and myself. Jurors must not conduct any investigation of their own. This includes reading newspapers, watching television, or using a computer, cell phone, the internet, any electronic device, or any other means at all to get information related to this case or the people and places involved in this case. This applies whether you are in the courthouse, at home, or anywhere else. You must not visit places mentioned in the trial or use the internet to look at maps or pictures to see any places or people discussed during the trial. Jurors must not have discussions of any sort with friends or family members about the case or the people and places involved in the case. Do not let even the closest family members make comments to you or ask questions about the trial. As I said yesterday, make me the bad guy and tell them you are under very strict orders from the court. You can't talk about it. You can't hear about it. You can't discuss it until this case is over and you're released from your obligations. In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress again that just as you must not talk about this case face to face, you must not talk about or communicate about this case using phones, computers, or other electronic devices. Do not send or accept any messages related to this case or your jury service. Do not discuss this case or ask for advice by any means at all, including posting information on an internet website, chat room, or blog. What are the reasons for these rules? These rules are imposed because jurors must decide the case without distraction and only on the evidence presented in this courtroom. If you investigate, research, or make inquiries on your own, I have no way to make sure that the information you obtain is proper for this case. Likewise, the parties have no opportunity to dispute or challenge the accuracy of what you find. This is contrary to our judicial system, which guarantees every party the right to ask questions about and challenge the evidence being considered against it and to present argument with respect to that evidence. Any independent investigation by a juror unfairly and improperly prevents the parties from having these opportunities that our judicial system guarantees. Any juror who violates these restrictions jeopardizes the fairness of these proceedings, and a mistrial could result that would require the entire trial process to start over. A mistrial is a tremendous expense and inconvenience to the parties, the court, and the taxpayers. If you violate these rules, you may be held in contempt of court and face sanctions such as serving time in jail, paying a fine, or both. In every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. At no time is it the duty of a defendant to prove her innocence. From the exercise of a defendant's right to remain silent, a jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt, and the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. The attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure, and it is their duty to make all objections they feel are proper. When an objection is made, you should not guess or speculate on the reason why it has been made. Likewise, if I sustain or uphold an objection, you must not guess or speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been sustained, nor what a witness might have said had he or she been permitted to answer. During the trial, it may be necessary to confer with the attorneys out of your hearing to discuss matters.
Can you guys hear me?
By me alone. It is impossible to predict when such a conference may be required or how long it will last. When such conferences occur, they will be conducted so as to consume as little of your time as is necessary for a fair,
This is what I'm dealing with.
trial of the case.
So
Many
we're going to
times
keep
these
this feed
conferences will occur at my bench where the attorneys will approach,
running
we'll have
through
a
Ms. Keffin for
conversation,
now.
and it'll be done. But sometimes the matters that we need to discuss more in depth, it's just much easier if I excuse you back to the jury room. The attorneys stay at their desk where they have all their materials, and we have more of a normal conversation. So either way that it happens, please rest assured that we will address those matters as quickly as possible in order to have that fair and orderly trial of the case. You are permitted to take notes during the trial, and you have been provided with a notepad and a pen for use to take those notes. Any notes that you take will be for your own personal use. However, you should not take them with you from the courtroom. During recesses, the court deputy will take possession of your notes and will return them to you when we reconvene. After you have completed all of your deliberations and you are discharged, the
Deliberation.
court deputy will deliver your notes to me. They will be destroyed. No one will ever read your notes. If you take notes, do not get so involved with note-taking that you become distracted from the proceedings. Your notes should only be used as aids to your memory. Whether or not you take notes, you should rely on your memory of the evidence, and you should not be unduly influenced by the notes of other jurors. Notes are not entitled to any greater weight than each juror's memory of the evidence. Before I go too far, I see you all have your pads. If you haven't already taken the cap off, test the pen. Just make sure it works. All right, everybody's good. Now, if you are a prodigious note taker like I am and you run out of paper, let us know. We've got boxes and boxes of paper for you if you need them. And if your pen starts running out, just hold it up, shake it for us, let us know. We'll get you another one. We got boxes of them. All right.
You can't have your own pen.
Also, I don't have them right here. If at any point during the trial you have a difficult time hearing someone, maybe it's soft-spoken, maybe they're far away, whatever it might be. If you have any difficulty hearing, just give one of the deputies the universal sign. Remember the old Carol Burnett? Anybody? Yeah. Okay, a couple. Give the universal sign, and we can get you those headphones. Like I said, they're piped into all of these microphones and makes it really easy to hear. It'll help a lot. Also, some trials we have, there's quite a few observers. It's a public courtroom, and sometimes there's not a whole lot of observers. So there's going to be people going in and out of the courtroom throughout this trial. That's just fine. It can be distracting when that door opens a lot. I'm going to ask that you do everything you can to set aside those distractions and focus right here. This is the witness stand where the testimony is going to come from. And then, of course, the attorneys will be introducing and showing you any exhibits that are introduced into evidence. So the best you can, keep your focus. The attorneys will now have the opportunity to make an opening statement to you. Please remember that what the attorneys say is not evidence and should not be considered by you as evidence. However, it is important to listen, as this is their chance to tell you what they believe the evidence will be in this case. State.
This case is about a woman who very early on in her pregnancy decided she wanted to be a single mother. And she did not want the father of this child to have any visitation, her husband. And everything she did from that point on was to attain that goal. And she would stop at nothing to attain that goal. She tried several things in the system that you'll hear. The courts, law enforcement, Department of Children and Families, no one got on her side. And at the end, when there was no other option, she shoots him and kills him and claims self-defense. Now, this couple, Doug Benefield and Ashley Benefield, were married. They had moved to Florida from South Carolina. They lived together in South Carolina. Now, when they lived down here in Florida in Bradenton, they did not live together. Obviously, there were issues. Doug Benefield lived in his own apartment. Ashley Benefield lived with her mother, Alicia Byers, in a home with their daughter once she gave birth. She had this daughter who at the time was a toddler when she shot Doug. While they were living separate, they were still interacting with each other with the goal, the apparent goal of seeking reconciliation, reconciling this family and becoming a family. They were going to restaurants, they were going to Selby Gardens, They were hanging out at the pool at Doug Benefield's apartment complex. By all images, they looked like they were trying to reconcile. The problem was that is not what Ashley Benefield wanted. Although that's what she was portraying, that's not what she wanted. At the time that this shooting happened, they were planning to move to Maryland. Ashley's mother had inherited a home in Maryland and they were going to move to Maryland. Doug was also going to move to Maryland. They were going to continue to live separate and continue to attempt to reconcile, but they were all going to move to Maryland together. Excuse me. At the time that this happened, everybody was in moving mode. There were boxes everywhere, furniture, beds upended. They had a U-Haul that they were using together. They had a pod that was in the defendant's driveway that they were putting all of their things into. And every day around this time, Doug Benefield was going to Ashley's home to assist her in putting these things into the pod, putting these things into the U-Haul, because the plan was that they were all going to pack up in the next few days and move to Maryland and continue to try and work on their relationship. The problem was Ashley Benefield knew that this was a ruse. She didn't intend to reconcile. She didn't intend to try to make this work. And the problem was there was a court hearing on September 30th of 2020. And at that court hearing, all of this was going to come out. It was going to come out that she was acting one way when she was by herself, and she was acting another way when she was with Doug Benefield. That she was telling him she wanted to work on things, that she wanted to get this marriage back together. But yet when separate, she was saying she had absolutely no intention of reconciling, did not want him around, and did not want this to work. On the 30th of September, this was going to come out. On the 27th of September, she shoots him and kills him. 3 days before this hearing and 3 days before this information was to become public. Now, there was no one else at the house at the time of the shooting. It was just Doug and Ashley. While Ashley's mother and child lived there, they had gone to the park. As soon as Doug got to the house, Alicia Byers takes her granddaughter and they go to the park. So the only people at the house are the defendant and the victim. And you're going to hear three very important things about this shooting. Number one, Ashley Benefield was the only person that was armed. It was her gun. She had it from before. It's not like she took it away from Doug. It was her gun. And Doug Benefield was not armed. He had no gun, no knife, no club, no weapon of any kind. Number two, Ashley Benefield was not injured. Law enforcement took pictures of her right after the shooting. And then again, you'll hear in a few days, they took more pictures. Because sometimes law enforcement, they know that bruises sometimes don't show up right away, that it takes several days for these bruises to show up. So they took pictures several days later. And you'll see those pictures and you'll see that Ashley Benefield is not injured. She has some very superficial scratches on her midsection. Who knows where they came from? She had cats in the house, but who knows? But this is the only injury to her. And the third thing is the trajectory of the fatal bullet. Now, he was shot multiple times, but one of the bullets was fatal. The trajectory of that bullet was side to side. It was not straight on. Doug Benefield was not facing her, coming at her at the time that the fatal shot was fired. Now, as you go through this trial, it's a lot of information, a lot of timeline, but it's all very important to understand the tenor of this relationship between these two people. And it goes all the way back to when they met, back in 2016. That was the end of August 2016, they meet. They were both involved in some political event and they met. 13 days later, they married. Doug Benefield was 54 years old. Ashley Benefield was 24 years old. So there was a 30-year age gap between the two of them. They knew each other 13 days and they got married. Ashley Benefield was very into the ballet, had been an ex-dancer. Her dream was to start a ballet company. And lo and behold, her husband has the money and the connections to get this done. So he begins and she begins to put this ballet company together. And they do put a ballet company together. But before it can actually take off, it falls apart. Before they're married even a whole year, so in April of 2017, Doug Benefield has his vasectomy. Doug Benefield has his vasectomy reversed because they want a child.
I hate to do this, but we have a house on fire from the storm. Y'all please be praying everybody got out safe. We don't know yet.
Weeks or months of the vasectomy reversal, the defendant is pregnant. So all within a year of being married, they have done a vasectomy reversal, gotten pregnant, started a ballet, and the ballet has crumbled. While Ashley is pregnant, she decides she's too sick from the pregnancy, morning sickness, and that she needs her mother to take care of her. Her mother's in Florida, in Bradenton, Florida. So during her pregnancy, she moves to Bradenton, Florida to live with her mother so her mother can take care of her during the sickness. The two never lived together again. This was the last time these two lived together. They continued a long distance relationship when she first moved to Florida and continued trying to keep it together in communication. But about the same time as the ballet collapses, right about all of this time, Ashley Benefield starts complaints against the victim. Her complaints are things like, the main one was that Doug Benefield was poisoning her with heavy metals, and her unborn child was being poisoned, that there was poison in her teeth, that he was giving her poison. There were also other complaints, domestic violence complaints, different types of complaints, but not once will you hear that she ever said he hit her. Not once did she ever say he choked her, kicked her, anything like that. Even though she's making these complaints, the victim, Doug Benefield, is still trying to make this work. And you're going to see some text messages and hear some things. He's still trying to make this work. But she is having none of it. So at about the time that she's ready to give birth, Doug Benefield contacts an attorney here in Florida, Sarasota, Florida, Stephanie Murphy, and asks her to help. And asks her to help him write a letter to her, to Ashley Benefield, to state that he wants to be a part of the birth and he wants to be a part of this child's life and to please keep in contact with him. Ashley never answers that letter. That letter is sent via email on March 15th of 2018, which was several weeks early. She wasn't due yet. And the next day, she is induced, her pregnancy is induced, and she gives birth to a daughter. She never tells Doug. He doesn't even know his child is born for weeks. And she never responds to the letter. The way that Doug knows that this child is born is that Ashley Benefield starts filing complaints again. And based on these complaints, he figures out, oh, my child's born. And now we have more complaints. The complaints revolved around the poisoning and the things that I talked about earlier. And she filed for what's called a violation of injunction, or I'm sorry, she filed for an injunction. An injunction is our legal way of saying restraining order. So when someone wants a restraining order, they have to go through a process and go to court, and the court has to decide, and you get a restraining order. So that was her process. She was trying to get a restraining order against Doug, and the allegations were what I said to you. At the same time, Doug Benefield had not seen his child, had not met his child. So he did a cross complaint to say, please let me have contact with my child. I've never even met my child. So this was set for a hearing, and it ended up going 2 days. It was long. It was a long process, a lot of witnesses in family court, and it ended up going 2 days. It began in July 30th, 2018, and it finished on September 17th, 2018. And at the conclusion of that hearing, the judge said, no, you are not getting a restraining order, and no, you cannot keep this man away from his child. And granted Doug Benefield immediate visitation with his daughter. He met his daughter for the first time. She was 6 months old. And at the time when they were exchanging custody, which was at the sheriff's office for meeting the child, all of this animus had been going on. I mean, they had just had these hearings and all of this. And at that first time sharing, that's what they call it nowadays in family courts, time sharing. At the first time sharing, Ashley starts becoming very nice to Doug and says, basically, I'll go with you for the visitation. And that's what they do. The family goes off for visitation. And that begins approximately a year, of basically them working on the relationship, going out to restaurants, doing things, hanging out together as a family, about a year. Now, Doug never moves in with Ashley. He keeps a separate residence. But after August of 2018, Ashley just stops talking to him. And that time, Doug files is that the defendant started off.
Okay, so that's not me.
Are that Doug's abusing the child. What you'll hear is that not one of these abusing the child. Now has tried these 5 after Doug filed for a divorce. Law enforcement's not helping her. See this.
This is on there. Let me see if I can find a different feed, because both of our feeds are doing it.
And in meeting of all these people, going to feel logical evaluation. So they go to Dr. And Dr. Broder does a very extensive evaluation.
Are y'all hearing that too? That's on both our sides. That's their feed. Let me see if I can find a different court feed.
She's a little girl, and at the time of this, she's about not yet 2 years old. During this evaluation, and what you'll hear from Dr. Broder is that Ashley Benefield acted very different when she was with Doug and when she was not with Doug. When she was with Doug, it was, we're moving to Maryland, we're going to work on our relationship, try and make this family work. When she's not,
Why am I getting? Okay, I'm going to change court feed, guys. I apologize. We're doing the best we can. That's out of the courtroom. We can do.
now, there had to be a request from both sides, the husband and the wife. And Ashley Benefield tried to get Doug to drop that so the report would not get out, would not be released. Doug refused. So that report was coming out on the 30th, and on the 27th, she kills him and claims self-defense. Now, you're probably going to hear a lot of information about Doug Benefield. Probably some negative things, not so nice things. I would just ask you to remember who and why. Just because someone speaks words does not make it true. So use your common sense as you go through this trial. This is a long story with a lot of information, but you'll see that this was a custody battle that this mother was going to win at all costs. And the cost was the life of Doug Benefield. And that is murder. Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Taylor.
I bet.
Judge Wright, may I request the clerk to put the screen down?
That's the third emergency vehicle that's gone to that house. The worst is, I think it's past. I think we should begin. But I don't like the way I'm hearing myself.
This is the divide between generations. I'm in the old school. I'd like to know that I have a picture and it's reliable. This is the new world. You rely on technology. Not sure that I'm a fan.
The judge is going to go, move it. Let's get this movement moving.
Here we go.
Gosh, y'all.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Douglas Benefield. He was 58 when Ashley Benefield was forced to shoot him. Can I see the second picture, please? Want you to note how he's built for a 58-year-old man.
Very well.
Now, despite being raised by a family who taught me that it was ill to speak about the dead in an unflattering sense, I'm
You're
going to
going
have
to.
some strong words about Douglas Benefield, the alleged victim in this case. I say alleged victim because he was anything but that. The evidence is going to show that Douglas Benefield was a very disturbed man. Of that, I assure you, you'll have no doubt when the case is over. 30 years older than Ashley, he was obsessed with her, and he successfully portrayed himself as everything he was not in an effort to win her hand in marriage. Despite promoting himself as a religious and decent human being, Doug Benefield was a manipulative, cunning, and abusive man. Absolutely insisted on control. Among other things, you're going to learn during this trial that over the course of this 4-year relationship, Douglas Benefield did the following. He fired a handgun into the ceiling of their kitchen on an occasion to stop Ashley from talking. He threw a loaded gun at Ashley. He punched Doug in the face so hard that he knocked the dog unconscious. He regularly carried a concealed firearm that was racked, meaning pulled back and ready to fire. He unlawfully placed a tracker on Ashley Benefield's vehicle. He was regularly observed following Ashley Benefield in her car driving in Manatee and Sarasota counties, despite the fact that he was living in South Carolina, having driven all the way just to tail her. He was caught by a neighbor at night, standing in the neighbor's backyard in an effort to peer into Ashley's house. He punched numerous holes in the drywall of their home when they lived together in South Carolina. And he had a previous marital history of domestic violence. Ashley Benefield was painfully aware of all of this on September 27th, 2020, the day of the homicide. And I want to assure you that this is not going to come to you from just one place. These are acts that were admitted by Douglas Benefield himself. Ashley Benefield feared him. That was no secret, ladies and gentlemen. She left him a letter when she moved out 3 years prior to the homicide, detailing how scared she was of him because of all of these acts. She feared for herself and for her unborn child. 3 years before the shooting. She left him. He pursued her. She rejected him. He would not take no for an answer. She at times despised him. He did not care. She moved to get away from him. He followed her. She decided to go to Maryland. Surprise. He decided to go to Maryland as well. She belonged to him. He had the right to be with her, and no less than God decided that to be the case. Doug Benefield viewed Ashley Benefield as his property. Abusers seek to control their victims, to dominate them. At times, the pressure that Doug Benefield exerted and brought to bear upon Ashley Benefield was so overwhelming that it sometimes triggered questionable suspicions in Ashley's dedicated effort to protect herself and her child. Domestic violence victims have several things in common. Number one, they initially believe things will get better. Instead, they get worse. Number two, domestic violence victims develop a get along, go along attitude. It's the mentality because appeasement keeps the beast at bay. Just do what he wants and you'll be safe. These domestic violence victims constantly speak about walking on eggshells. And the reason they describe it like that is for fear of anything that they say may trigger a reprisal by the abuser. And if children are involved, everything is magnified. They become hypervigilant. Ashley Benefield developed all of those characteristics. So on 9/27/2020, the day of the homicide, Doug arrives at the residence of Ashley Benefield. And as you heard, they are living separately. He does not live there. He never resided there. This is at her home in Bradenton. He had no claim for entering that home on that day, except with the permission of Ashley, which she gave on that day because she was moving to Maryland and Doug was going to Maryland as well. But he knew, make no mistake, as the prosecutors told you, Doug Benefield knew full well on that day that this relationship was over. They were not going to be living together. Maybe, hopefully, they could work out some type of co-parenting agreement, but she was done. So how does that day's events unfold? What happens that results in us all assembling here this morning? It starts, ladies and gentlemen, with Doug Benefield once again seeking control. He is simmering when he arrives at Ashley's home on that afternoon. Why is he simmering? He's on a slow boil, actually, because he knows that Ashley's moving. He knows that this relationship is over. And immediately there's a discussion about how they should pack the belongings, with Ashley taking the position that her belongings should be packed last. Why? Because Ashley's things are going to be unloaded first. And Doug will then continue on to wherever it is that he was going to reside. So, this is the most vulnerable time for a domestic violence victim, when the abuser recognizes that he's about to lose her. So what's his response to this? All right, classic tactics of an abuser, they are threats and intimidation. On this afternoon, as the two of them are trying to pack this U-Haul and this pod. In the effort to avoid confrontation with him, Ashley says after a short while, gee, you know, I'm really pretty exhausted. Why don't we stop for the day? We can finish tomorrow. Doug ignores it. His response is to grow increasingly aggressive and hostile. Not once, but twice, Doug body checks Ashley. And by body check, I mean he passes her in a hallway, slams his shoulder into her shoulder, almost knocking her over. That's not enough. The next thing is, as they're passing in a hallway, he's carrying a cardboard box. He jams the cardboard box into Ashley's side, which leaves scratches that the police photographer took. Again, now fearing for her safety because she sees how he is escalating in his behavior, she tries to persuade him, look, let's finish for the day. It's getting late. I'm tired. No go. Instead, Doug bellows, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get me to leave. I'm your husband, and I can spend the night if I want to. Well, that was enough for Ashley. She heads for the front door of the house to leave. Doug chases up to her, grabs her by the arm or hand, and spins her around so that his back is to the front door, blocking her from leaving. And he yells right in her face, where do you think you're going? Ashley, desperate at this point, Doug yells, "You can't leave me." Ashley somehow finds the strength to summon up the nerve to say, "I am done. You need to leave now." She commands him to leave the home. Terrified, while in his grasp, because he spun her around, his response is to smack her upside the head. And you'll see the pictures of her swollen face and her eye. And he yells, "I am not done." Fearing for her life, as this was the first time that he had actually struck her. Up till then, it was always threats and intimidation. As intimidating as firing a gun may be to get you to stop speaking, he had never actually hit her. He'd pushed her. This time he struck her. Terrified after this, fearing for her life, she heads for her bedroom where she has a firearm. She gets to the firearm. She turns around. She orders Doug to stop. When she looks up, he's in the doorway. Instead of seeing the gun and leaving, Doug gets into this warrior pose with his arms moving purposely and advances. At that point, petrified, she fires, believing that if he gets a hold of her, she will be either seriously injured or killed. To her horror, after firing, he continues to advance. She absolutely panics. She tries to get away and backs to the side to create more distance between them, but there is no place left for her to go in this small bedroom. At that point, in utter panic, she keeps firing the gun. She sees Doug's legs go up in the air, almost as if he was running and slipped, and he falls backwards. Instinctively, she flees the house and heads next door to John Sant's house. He's a neighbor. When all is said and done, ladies and gentlemen, and the testimony and the evidence is complete, the only thing that's going to have been established here
Tracy
beyond a
Regaligard,
reasonable
EPR,
doubt
HQ 56
is that Douglas
TVGX GX
Benefield
TZM
was a
669
violent
DC
abuser.
FHPCSN 5.
Ashley Benefield's efforts to placate him was absolutely consistent with what abused women do, especially when a child is involved, and that Ashley's result and resource to deadly force was absolutely justified under the circumstances. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Judge, can we approach?
Yes. Are we done for this, for the presentation for now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, state, call your first witness.
Tommy Benefield. Tommy.
What do y'all think about that testimony or opening statements? Cottage cheese and avocado for breakfast. Okay. So when there's a sidebar, the defendant has the right to hear what's going on. So she puts the headphones on. So she doesn't have to physically go up there. Some judges don't like them going up there. We saw a trial recently where the defendant went up there. Oh, what are you doing in here, little one? I didn't want you in here. Hey. Kitty's in here.
Members of the jury, there may be times where it may be a minute or two when witnesses are coming in or we're reconfiguring the courtroom. You're going to spend a lot of time sitting during this trial. So if you want, during these breaks, if you want to stand up, please feel free to do so, kind of stretch a little bit. There's not enough room for yoga poses and calisthenics, but sometimes it just helps to stand up on your feet and move your back a little bit. Please feel free.
No jumping jacks. No jumping jacks allowed.
Hello, sir. Judge. My name is Judge White. I'm going to be presiding over this case. Take yourself a chair. Get about 12 to 15 inches from that microphone. It adjusts up, down, left, right, however you need it. Speak in a loud, clear voice. We'll hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Suzanne.
Please state your name.
Tommy Douglas Benefield Jr.
Can you spell those?
Yes, ma'am. Tommie. Middle name Douglas, Douglas. Last name Benefield, Benefield, and Jr.
And what was your relationship to Doug?
I'm Doug's first.
How close are Doug?
Doug and I were completely attached, connected all the way through his adult life at varying times, semi-annually, certainly quarterly, though the whole entire adult life.
Okay. And how are you employed?
I'm currently in Georgia, and I run a flight school in Vero Beach, Florida, a week, full-time job.
Okay. And
welcome, Miss Morales.
Into the Navy. I was a Navy pilot off air, and Doug stayed with me in the months prior to him going into the Navy. He went through aviation officer candidate school, went through flight school, and then flew for 3 years and 2 deployments off aircraft carriers like I did. Same aircraft carrier, USS Nimitz, as a matter of fact.
okay. How old
Ooh.
was Benefield when he died?
All right. He was 5 years older than me. I'm 68 now. That was 4 years ago. 64. He was 59, I believe.
About how tall was Doug?
5'9", 5'10" at the most.
Approximately how much did he weigh at the time?
My guess is 160, 165. He was slender and fairly small for a man.
Okay. And before Doug moved to Florida, where did he live?
Before he moved.
Before he moved down here to Bradenton, Florida, where did he live?
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to pick a year at that point. I'm sorry. He had a home all the way up until his death in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, just north of Charleston. 701 Preservation Place was the address.
Okay. And he lived at that address before moving to Bradenton, Florida, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And then he rented the house out when he moved to Bradenton for visitation of their daughter.
Okay.
The house, multiple years, Doug Renee. That's yes, died of a undiagnosed heart ailment, cardiac arrest.
Is,
Hold on.
oh,
Lack of qualifications?
Yes.
Overruled on that basis.
was Renee Eva Benefield's mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry, can you say that date again? Was 2015 that she died?
I believe it's December 2nd, but I may have the day off, but not the month of 2015.
2015. And I want to ask you now, switch to Ashley. So about how long after Renee died did Doug meet Ashley?
9 months.
When did you first meet Ashley?
I met Ashley in the spring of 2017. I believe the date was either March 14th or April 14th.
And did you know about Ashley before you met her?
No, ma'am.
Okay. How did your meeting come about?
I was flying for Southwest Airlines as a captain at the time. They changed my schedule like they do many times in the airline world. And I ended up not overnighting in Baltimore, Maryland, and they sent me to Charleston, South Carolina. Because I was going to Charleston, I texted Doug and said, hey, I'll be in to Charleston tonight. I'd like to have dinner. And he said, great. Text.
Sustained.
During your conversations, did he mention the name Ashley?
In the second text chain, which is entered.
Sustained.
I'm asking because
Sorry, guys.
I can answer the question, ma'am. When I arrived in Charleston, I texted Doug, and his text to me specifically was,
you can't speak about what Doug said to you,
okay,
but during the text messages, did he indicate to you there was a female involved?
yes, that's the first mention of Ashley to me, that we were not going to have dinner at the airport, and that I was to take Uber up to Mount Pleasant to meet them.
Okay. And was that at their house?
That was at Doug's house. Yes, ma'am. 701 Preservation Place.
Doug's house at the time. And how long were you with them, the two of them together?
4 to 5 hours. We started at the house. We ended up going back to my hotel, getting a piece of medical technology, medical device that was a master trainer in that device. We had dinner together at a pizza restaurant across from the hotel, and then went back to my room in the hotel, the three of us, and certainly 4 to 5 hours that day.
And during this time, did you have multiple conversations with both of them?
We had conversations about everything, especially about how they met,
Okay.
starting at the house, ending at the hotel.
And what did Ashley say about how they met?
She talked about how they met at a political event, a meeting, where Doug and his business investors were.
Defendant's statement.
Yeah, overruled.
You can go ahead.
Both Ashley and Doug told me about how they met the first night at a political meeting, how Ashley had reached out to him before that meeting. They showed me text messages between them for the 10 days between the first meeting and her second meeting with him up in Charleston, Mount Pleasant. They talked about how they had mutual interests, mutual alignment, how they were looking for the same thing in a relationship. They talked about, Ashley talked specifically about her fibromyalgia and pain associated with her ballet dancing days. Ashley talked about her mother, her upbringing, about her father, about the separation there.
Okay.
Do you have an objection?
Yes, sir.
On the basis?
Hearsay.
Did you catch what he said?
Yes.
Overruled.
Okay. Let me stop you there. So she said that her and Doug met at a political event.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at the time that you were meeting with them, were they married?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Ashley indicate to you when they got married or how long they had been married?
Yes, ma'am. 13 days from first.
That they got married 13 days after they met.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you catch what he said? That she reached out to DB, the husband, before they went to that conference meeting, business meeting, whatever. She had her eyes on him before the meeting. How did she know about him? Did she research him? I just thought that was interesting.
Did Ashley indicate where they got married?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was that?
That was in Mount Pleasant or Charleston. Doug's best friend at the time, Tripp, married them.
Did Ashley ever discuss with you that she carried a gun?
Yes.
And what did she say about that?
She said that on their initial meeting, in the political meeting, that she and Doug's traveling partner in business went outside of Secret Service people, and she showed him the gun she was carrying at that event in her bra.
And she talked to you about this during your meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I want to jump forward a little bit, but did you have any conversations that night about them wanting to have a child? Or was that a different time?
I don't remember us talking about it that first night. No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember a conversation with Doug and Ashley, specifically Ashley, about them wanting a child?
I believe it was later in the late spring, the next time that I visited with them.
Okay. And to your knowledge, could Doug have children?
He had had a vasectomy after having his daughter with Renee, his longtime wife.
Did Ashley?
I'm sorry, so no, he couldn't have children.
Did Ashley speak about that in front of you, Ashley and Doug together, or Ashley separate about the vasectomy?
They did when they were discussing having Doug have a vasectomy reversal. Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
And to your knowledge, did that reversal ultimately go through?
Yes, ma'am, and I believe Ashley actually paid for it on a credit card. They talked about that.
Okay. And ultimately, she became pregnant?
Yes, 3 months after the vasectomy reversal, she became pregnant. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did they end up, I'm going to skip a little bit forward now.
Yes, ma'am.
Did they end up having a wedding reception?
They did. I believe it was June of 2017. I was single parenting at the time, and I wasn't able to attend, but it was in Charleston, South Carolina, at the home of one of Doug's business partners.
Okay. You mentioned something about ballet dancing, so I'm going to ask you about that. In your meetings and discussions with Ashley, did she indicate she was interested in the ballet?
She spoke about the fact that she had been a ballet dancer, that she had performed in, I'll call them shows, back, I believe, in Maryland, where she grew up. And by the time that I first met Ashley, they had formed the ballet company called the American National Ballet in Charleston. And they were, at the time that I first met her, they were working on getting that ballet company up and running.
Okay. And was this going to be a large endeavor?
Several $1 million. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Up to 40 dancers were hired. Yes, ma'am. Large endeavor.
Okay. And do you know what Doug's role was in that? In your discussions with Ashley, did you find out what Doug's role was?
Yeah, Doug and Ashley talked about it on the first night I met her, about how they founded the ballet, how Doug did the online limited liability corporation work, founded the name, resurrected that name, how they worked together to try to build a ballet diverse and open to more than body size, body color.
And how did?
A number of Doug's partners and Doug himself invested money. They had a major, let's say, arts benefactor in Charleston, is a personal injury lawyer who was going to be the primary major donor. In Doug's case, Doug was working on very advanced technologies and patents at the time. And in his case, he didn't have any savings or cash in the bank. So he sold his future stock grants and options to other investors to put his own money in, about $100,000 in his case.
So while this ballet was in development or launching, did Ashley ultimately become pregnant? I know you said she became pregnant several months later, but I'm just trying to get a timeline.
Yes, ma'am. So in February of 2017 are the records and what they told me about founding it. I met her in maybe a month or two after that on that Charleston overnight. They held the first ballet event, and I was invited in May of 2017. Once again, single parent, I wasn't able to attend. She got pregnant in July, and we talked about that multiple times. And the next month in August was the large launch, which me, my business partners, my veteran friends, supporters of Doug all went to Charleston for that major launch in August. It was at a place, I'm sorry.
And at that time, was Ashley pregnant in August?
She was pregnant. I don't remember if she knew or not. It was
okay.
1 month after the pregnancy was Emerson was conceived.
And at some point, did Ashley move away from the South Carolina home?
Yes, ma'am. We had the August ballet big launch. 2 weeks later, Doug moved Ashley down to Ashley's mother's home in Lakewood Ranch. Drove down one day, dropped her off, and drove back the next day. That's late August.
And what was the understanding, what was Ashley's understanding of why she was moving and what was going on?
In text conversations and personal conversations with Ashley.
Defendant's statement.
It's going to be the defendant's statements.
Can we approach her?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I saw the flooding outside of our place of business. It is thigh high flooding. Oh. So, guys, yeah. Yep. It's flooded. Our river is way over the banks. I'm glad I got here before it hit. It'll stop raining here about, I'm looking at the radar. Probably we got mild to moderate through 3 p.m. for your time. Y'all, we needed this so badly. We desperately needed this rain. Our underground aquifers and everything is crying for water. What we need is 2 or 3 weeks of soaking rain. myself, sorry. Rescue the boat. Where's the boat? Y'all, how bad was the rain where you are, Ronnie? Yeah, they do. See, they do. California has some really bad wildfire seasons. Yep. Let's do the rain dance. I shouldn't be saying that. I'm native. I know better. We had a 4.5 earthquake in Texas. Where? Maybe that's why I woke up. Where in Tejas? It was a weird night last night. I kept waking up about every hour, 45 minutes. It was not joyful. Not joyful. Okay, guys. It's a good place to do this. Good place to do this. I got an announcement. July has been an amazing month. And to end the month, we're doing a subscription campaign. And if you want to win a free Starbucks tumbler, just click the subscribe button. That's it. It's easy. Then leave in the comments, I sub, so we can get you in the drawing. The winner will be announced July 31st. Good luck, everyone, and thank you for subscribing. What do y'all think about them apples?
Time that you saw Doug and Ashley together, how did Doug act?
In particular on the opening night and all the way through their
No,
relationship.
you didn't.
Opening
You're
night,
good.
totally in love.
You're all good.
Both of them in love with
You
each
Morales.
other.
There is a rain
Doug
dance.
was always
I
very
just don't know how
respectful.
to
He
do
was
it.
very, very respectful with her in front of me. Both that initial night and then the next weekend, I believe in May, that I spent down in Sarasota, Bradenton with them. Every time he was respectful of her. They were in love. They never showed anything in front of me other than caring for each other.
That was going to be my next question. So did you see anything other than that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Cross. Mr. Taylor, as I've said before, you're free to use the podium if you prefer to cross from table. Yes, sir.
Morning, Mr. Benefield.
Good morning, Mr. Taylor.
You were naval pilot, correct?
Navy pilot, yes, sir.
I think you mentioned the training that you had briefly, correct?
I went through extensive training all my 30-year career, yes, sir.
Okay. Some of that training included close quarters combat, did it not?
No, sir, never.
No hand-to-hand
No,
training
sir.
at all?
No, sir.
Do you remember having a conversation
What?
where you related information about close quarters combat?
Yes, sir. I was in charge. I was the senior.
Do you remember that conversation
Which one, sir? I don't know which
about
one you're
close
speaking about.
quarters combat?
If it was in perspective of me running security and self-defense training for my airline, not the Navy.
You received no such training in the Navy?
No, sir, never.
What?
Did Doug admit
Whoa.
to firing the gun in the...
I call BS. Anybody here have Navy family? You have to have, if you're a a pilot, and you're flying the plane and it goes down and someone comes to kill you, you have basic training in firearms and self-defense. You lie like a dog.
kitchen of their home?
Can we approach?
Yes.
May we approach? Uh-oh, we got an approach. I'm all like, I don't like the fact that he lied. That's a lie. All-faced lie. Military basic training. Combat. Hello. I mean, please. I want to say the wrong word and I can't. I need an emoji for it. Biatch, please. Yep, you're right about that, Andrea. Very well could be. Look at that bracelet. I guess her daughter made it for her. I wonder how old her daughter is now and who has her daughter. Where's her daughter? That's a good question. Where is the daughter? Where is your baby girl? Told you I was wearing a pajama shirt today. What? Really? But I'm not talking extensive training, but all basic, including Navy, learns to shoot a gun and how to protect yourself. Not that they are infantry training, but my dad was in the military. I'm a military brat. That's basic training. I'm the same way, Andrea. I haven't heard enough. But basic training 101, how to protect yourself. Yeah, pilots don't do the dirty work in infantry. I'll have to research that fact.
Mr. Benefield, do you recall that Ashley had left your cousin Doug in the fall of 2017?
Yes, sir.
Specifically September 18th of 2017.
Yes, sir. I'm aware of that date and the events.
Do you recall writing to Ashley Benefield in a text in May of 2018, I'm a fan of yours? It's his.
Really? Well, what I saw just online, just briefly, is that they do get during basic training. Oh, sorry. Stop. They do get a very minimal defensive tactics, but they don't get trained to be hand-to-hand combat. I know, right? How many sidebars have they had already? I want to start my counter. Isn't this number 5? I wonder if they have a sound machine. guess that's maybe what's next to the witness. Oh, this rain makes it hard to keep your energy up. I just want to go to sleep, y'all. I'm too comfortable. And I am drinking. Oh, I wanted to share this with y'all. My sponsor, Shooter Shack Coffee. Sorry. Hitchman Homestead Shooter Shack Coffee now has a half caffeine, half and half, in its Mexican dark roast. Look at that label. Isn't that cute? I messed up the box. I roughed it up. But I'm drinking half and half. For those of you who can't have a full caffeine, you can do half and half. It is good. And that when they say dark roast, oh, let me put it up. Work with me. When they say dark roast, it's a deeper flavor, but it's not bitter because it is freshly ground. Good morning, Miss Cindy RN. How are you? So it's freshly ground, freshly roasted coffee. How are you doing? How's everybody doing today? Don't have a banner for them. We are on, I think, our 5th. Did we call it 5? He was Air Force. Still. Navy, Air Force, all basic training. I'm not disputing he didn't have combat training, but he did have a little bit of self-defense training. He knew how to protect himself to a certain level in case the plane went down. My humble opinion. I know, right? Now this is the brother. Yeah, I got 5. This is the brother to the decedent. And we've been having a little bit of interference at the court level, not on our end. Put my coffee cup over there. I may have to brew me some full strength. It's been a long morning. Well, how many of us would discuss with somebody that is not even a brother-in-law yet? Or maybe was. Yeah, he was a brother-in-law. But you don't know this person. How many would you be sitting there discussing reversing a vasectomy and trying to have a baby with him there? That, to me, is a no-go. If the brother wants to discuss it with him in private, that's one thing. But if she's talking about this in front of him and having that kind of conversation and they don't know each other, that's not good to me. Just doesn't set right. First time I meet you, you're talking about that? Oh, come on, Corey.
18th of 2017. Were you a fan of Ashley in May?
I don't remember specifically, but it may have been in our phone, text messages from January through June, possibly.
You expressing support for her?
Support for her story of the case, yes, sir.
Yeah. And did you tell her, in fact, at one point, she married the wrong Benefield?
Ooh.
That she married the wrong field?
Relevant.
Again? Really? That is so Ooh. Why does it keep doing that? All right, does somebody have a birthday that we missed? Because it keeps doing it. So this is his cousin. So this is the cousin. Why did I think it was the brother? This is the cousin. That's probably when my thing went down. Okay, I fixed it. Wow. The cousin. That is kind of creepy. It's one thing if it's your brother and you talk to him about personal stuff. Yes, please let us know. We do the singy thing here. Okay, so he's a cousin. Why would they even be talking about that to him? That's even worse than talking to a sibling. Talking to the cousin? About vasectomy and having babies, and you've only been married that short of time? Ew. Seriously, ew. And then he said, well, you married the wrong Benefield. What? Oh, he looks very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, that's gross. Sir. That is utterly disgusting. Excuse me, sir.
Really? You said that? Man, you ought to know better than that. You don't creep on a woman like that. That's your cousin's girl. Really? Oh, do I need to take you outside?
I would have been all over him if that was my wife and my cousin creeped on her like that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We'd have a discussion. And it would include 5 fingers on one side and 5 fingers on the other, making contact with thy cheek.
Y'all like my voice? Mm-hmm. Dude, are you ready? No, I can't be violent, but I can give a little smack. I can imagine this conversation. Hey, cuz, she wants a baby. Guess what I gotta do? I gotta go get that little private fix unfixed. Dude, that's gonna hurt. Boy, she better be worth it. Better be worth it, dude. Look at her, man. Mm-hmm. Yep, she damn well better be worth it, because this crap is gonna hurt.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm deliriously tired. The lack of sleep is caught up. I need some unhealthy food and I'm trying to lose weight. I may have to be in a bathing suit in December. I'll explain later. Don't want to be in a bathing suit, but
Thank you. So, Mr. Benefield, after expressing this benefit, 18 months,
what is going on with this court feed?
do you know the reason Ashley gave your cousin Doug as to?
I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to another feed. Yeah, it's on all feeds. No way I can help you with that, guys. Sorry.
Welcome.
On all feeds.
All right. But if I can reflection.
The question was, does he know why her husband left? Did he tell him? And there's an objection. Now they're pulling out papers. Dude, you were so unorganized. That poor guy has to go from file to computer. He only has one person helping him in court. Oh, dude, you should have at least a paralegal and a lower paralegal, or at least two paralegals. Oh, God, this is going to be a slow trial.
Recollection as to whether
What?
It does not say anything about Benefield.
does it say
Sir, is that identifying you? You need to lay.
is that communication shares Benefield?
I believe it's unaltered.
All right. And it's between you and this. It's accurate, is it not?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Is his feed good?
Thank you.
Objection.
Benefield.
Yeah, approach.
How did he get a good feed? I can't do their feed because he's talking too much. Let me see if I can find a news feed. Let's see if I can find another feed. I apologize, guys. I'm doing the best I can with this. God only knows why all the objections. Court TV. I thought there was multiple channels covering this. I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what feed he has. Can we find out? I know right now they're talking vaccine, but I don't know what his feed is. He's having static in his feed. Yep. Yeah, we got it caught up. There's actually 16 objections, but he's having the same static in his feed. So I'm relatively confident that we are struggling. Yeah, he does. But I could hear the static. Well, I say here, I could feel the static on his end too. He may be able to buffer it a little better than the rest of us, but I can't use him because I can't feed him out. All we hear is him. I thought I saw. What? While we're waiting. Oh my God, the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Chatelet or whatever, resigns following the response to the Trump associated assassination. Oh my God, she finally resigned. After all that she went through yesterday, she's resigning. Wow.
Does the doctor on you, Mr.
Okay, she resigned.
That exchange?
Yes, sir.
So I'm keep looking, but
Tell us
after yesterday, I would have walked out. That was a freaking nightmare. I watched
or
that.
not.
It was awful. Horrible.
Tell us what your response was to.
I'm not saying she
Ashley's
deserved it.
text.
I'm not saying she didn't. I'm just saying that whole situation's horrible.
You want me to just focus on?
Just tell us
one
what your
line?
just tell us what your response was to
My son is
Ashley's
flooded.
text, your recollection having been refreshed.
Hmm. I'm looking for another feed, y'all.
As in the text.
Benefield, please tell us what your response to Miss Benefield was now that your recollection is refreshed.
There are multiple on the page, sir.
Mr. Benefield, I think you know what I'm referring to. Would you please answer my question?
I would like to answer as it pertains to what she said.
I didn't ask you what she said, Mr. Benefield. I asked you to please tell us your recollection having been refreshed. You said.
Would you like me to read that?
What point of you said do you not understand?
Would you please take the jury room? If you could give us 5 minutes, I'd appreciate it. Remember, please don't begin your discussions and deliberations amongst yourselves. Contact people, but don't talk about the case with anyone else, and don't research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about.
I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm trying to find a better feed, and I don't have one. I've done the best I can. It is, but does he have the same static on his?
Hallway.
Is he having the same issues?
Anyone, including the attorneys.
Yeah, she avoided all questions.
Talk to you about anything that's going on inside the courtroom.
Yes, sir.
We're on the way.
Yes, sir, I will do that. Should I leave the paper here?
Yes, sir, leave that there.
Yes, sir.
Sidebar.
Okay. When we began this portion of the discussion, question was, did you tell Mary the wrong person? The wrong Benefield.
And I said that here's no exception. I found that it didn't provide impeachment or consistent statement. What I did allow was him to testify as to his then existing mental, physical, or emotional conditions or with the question being feel that she had married the wrong Benefield.
I may have to just play his stream. He told me I can always use it.
The messages that I don't know what the substance of them was, but where we were was my understanding and what I defending to refer witnesses' recollection. And what I have said is it sounded like it started to morph into some mix of impeachment and reflection and some elements of introducing a past recollection recorded. And that's where we're at. So, state your objection.
My objection, first of all, is the predicate has been laid. Has not. What the question is, other than off paper collection, and either past recorded or something of that nature. I think we're commingling the two different things, and if it refreshes his recollection, then he can be asked that question without reading the document. I think of the document because it is extrinsic evidence if it's being used for impeachment. I do not believe his state of mind is relevant to a material issue in this case. I think the defense is trying to say that it goes to bias, but I'm not quite sure how that fits into it. So my objection would be it's improper refreshing recollection. It's improper impeachment. It's also improper prior recorded recollection, and I would object to that being testified about.
Your response?
Yes. So as succinctly as I can, Your Honor, he's a creep. He acknowledged being a creep, and the jury will conclude he's a creep. It goes directly to his character and his bias. And that's why, after he said, yes, it was accurate, I recall it, he cannot bring himself to say it. And the reason he can't bring himself to say it is because he knows that all these women on the jury are going to know exactly what he was referring to. So I am trying to impugn his credibility after listening to everything that he had to say to set up the state's position about how this relationship was so lovey-dovey between Miss Benefield and Douglas Benefield, and what a wonderful relationship it was. Here, we now have this witness very begrudgingly admitting that after Miss Benefield leaves Douglas Benefield, and she leaves the letter, which I know the court has seen because I attached it as an earlier exhibit to a motion, he's still supporting her. And he's not only supporting her, but he's telling her she married the wrong Benefield. Yeah. In my world, Your Honor, based upon the rules of evidence, I am entitled to go after his credibility, which he has put in question by virtue of taking the witness stand and becoming a witness. I did it the way the court wanted. I asked the magic question, does this refresh your recollection? He said it did. Now I want him to tell me, in response to my question, did you tell Miss Benefield she married the wrong Benefield? And he cannot bring himself to acknowledge it. He wants to talk about anything else but that. And I think, Your Honor, anything that I'm capable of showing where this witness, Doug Benefield's loving cousin, Tommy Benefield, where this witness showed his support for Ashley Benefield after she left Douglas Benefield, goes directly to his credibility. You can't get up there and testify to all of these things about how wonderful this relationship was, and then on cross-examination have to acknowledge that you were still saying you're a fan of Miss Benefield's after she leaves them, knowing the reasons she left them. I intentionally didn't go into the reasons to try to be straight with the court, but now I'm attempting to impugn his credibility. And he knows it, Judge. He's looking at me like a deer in the headlights.
I'm going to allow you to respond. I previously mentioned about confining arguments to legal and factual bases. I am also going to direct both sides to refrain from vituperative ad hominem attacks. I don't think we need to resort to name calling. I think it's inappropriate and unprofessional to refer to a witness as a creep. All right. With that said, go ahead for your response.
The first thing, Judge, I don't know if you have the copy of the text message up there. The defense could give it to you. Nowhere in there does it say she married the wrong man. That is not what it said, first of all. And second of all, Tommy Benefield never said that anything about their relationship and the tenor of their relationship once she left. He said, when I saw them together, they looked fine. Just because that changes down the road and he knows they're having problems, I am unaware of how that affects his credibility. He can clearly see that they're having problems later on down the road. I don't see how the timing being different somehow makes him inconsistent and somehow that attacks his credibility or it shows his bias. If Mr. Taylor wants to ask him, were you aware that there were problems after that? Yes, I was aware of that. I mean, in Mr. Taylor's argument, he is impeaching the fact that Tommy Benefield saw them acting lovey to each other. If that wants to be impeached or explored, then ask Mr. Benefield if he saw them after that or knew that they were not lovey and having that type of relationship. I don't understand the relevance of these types of conversations. I think the defense tends to say everything is about bias, but it has to comport with the rules of evidence. And I would say that this does not.
All right, thank you both very much. So my ruling earlier was that these statements by Mr. Benefield towards the defendant were hearsay. I wasn't aware of any exception that would allow them. They appear to be offered for the truth of the matter that is asserted. So I didn't allow them on that grounds. What I allowed was the defense to ask, because there had been testimony by Tommy Benefield that they were always respectful to each other. He never saw anything except care for each other, and they were in love both ways. I think it is an impeachable question to ask, did you feel that she married the wrong Benefield? But it's not what he wrote. It's what he felt. That's where you're mixing apples and oranges, the defense is. The question that was presented to me was, did you feel that she married the wrong Benefield? He can answer yes or no. If there's then some extrinsic evidence that may impeach him on that point, I would then have to make a determination is that extrinsic evidence admissible or not? Because if it's a collateral matter that's not material, then as you well know, Mr. Taylor, you get the answer you get. Where we had an additional part of this analysis was the fact that there was a demonstrated lack of memory, because the answer was, I don't know, as opposed to, no, I didn't say that, or yes, I didn't feel that, yes, I did feel that. So then the path we started on was refreshing recollection. As I've mentioned before, and I mentioned pre-trial, I expect attorneys to know the differences between impeachment by a prior inconsistent statement. That's one path. Refreshing recollection is a second path, and introduction of past recollection recorded, which is a separate path. And the reason I'm sustaining the objection is because
Thank
it
you,
started off
sneaky
with
side.
refreshing. Does it refresh your memory? And then we got right back into the documents themselves, which I've already ruled were hearsay. So it's for impeachment purposes only. You can ask him about I allowed you to ask what his feelings were, but not to get into these documents themselves. I don't know how to say it any more clear than that.
So
If you're refreshing his recollection, then we're going to take that path.
yes, I believe I did that. I believe I refreshed his recollection and he acknowledged that. So then my question was,
What did you say? And that
Actually-
gets back to the documents. If he says his memory is refreshed, you take the document back, or whatever the thing is that you use to refresh recollection is to be retrieved. And then the person testifies from their own personal knowledge.
so once he said that he recalls, I then asked him if he said that you married the wrong Benefield. That's what I said. I will be happy to go through that again, Your Honor. Now, did I leave the document there when I asked him that? Yes. I didn't feel it was necessary to take the document back, but after he acknowledged that his memory was refreshed, I asked him, did you say that she married the wrong Benefield? And that's where we were when Your Honor sent the jury out. He was trying to come to terms with how he was going to answer that. The other text, Your Honor, is just indicative of continued support for Miss Benefield.
Yo, what are your thoughts on this? I want to know the answer. I want to know the answer,
Sir,
but
this doesn't
is
say
it
what you're
legally
asking.
correct? I brought another shirt to change into if
Thank
I
you,
had
Ron
to.
Benefield. Miss Benefield says, that's very cool. You should be so proud of what you were doing. His response is, thank you, Ron Benefield. What that means, Your Honor, what that suggests is, thank you. You should have been with me.
Sustained.
I assure you, Judge, that any female will draw that conclusion immediately.
That does not match what you're asking, sir. All right, are we ready to bring the jury back in? Do you want to treat this as your mid-morning break? You guys can take 5 minutes.
Can I take 5 minutes, please?
All right, am I going to be allowed to get an answer from him?
I've sustained the objection.
No.
All right, so we'll take,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify your ruling. It's my understanding that you said he could ask how he felt.
correct. The last objection was the questions were going to, what did you write? What did you say in your text messages? Sustained.
And then, okay, thank you.
So
He
we're
can't get
clear.
that in.
Did you feel she married the wrong Benefield?
I've already ruled you could ask that question.
All right.
Woo! The judge is like, I need a break. We're taking a break. Yeah. Yeah. The judge is like, we're taking a break. Y'all, this is spicier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know it was going to be this spicy. What are your humble opinions? Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't know what to think. Right now, you know, I don't know how to put this without sounding catty. Yeah, as soon as I get home, I get in my comfy pajamas. Exactly. Yeah, as soon as I'm home, I'm in my comfies. Oh, y'all don't need to see my ruckus. Y'all don't need to see all that. I need to zoom in. Y'all don't need to see all this mess. There we go. We know you're not catty. But I will say I was with an older man when I was in my 20s for 7 years. He wasn't 30 years older, but he was older. And all the men in his family, like, hey, they were like this.
Hey, what's up? You got a youngin'. Lucky dog, you want to share? Dude, how'd you do that?
I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. Those guys, I mean, when they see a family member get a younger woman, doesn't matter if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, depending on the men. Now, not every man's this way, but a lot of them are. They'd be going, hey, guy, she got a sister?
Hey, connect me to her sister. Who's her sister? Yeah, she's pretty as her. Prettier? Really?
I'm not kidding. Oh, I'm not kidding. What I want is a big fuzzy blanket. It's over there on the ground. You can see it. But yeah, no. It's interesting, to say the least. But not all men are pigs. I won't say that. I'm not going to man bash. But would I put it past him for him to go up there and say,
hey, Ashley, you got the wrong Benefield. Get tired? Come on over here.
my commute from the bed to the kitchen table? I love it. If I didn't have to help customers, I'm pretty casual right now, but I've had pajama bottoms on while I'm sitting here. We're equal opportunity big fuzzy blankets. I should. It's cold. It is cold. I mean, temperature here is not very, for Kerrville this time of the year, it's pretty low. Let me see what it is. Let's see what our weather looks like. Our temperature, 72. And it's 10 a.m. Usually we're in the 90s by now. So, okay, guys, let's talk about our name, our community name. Right now, we have alternate jurors, 20%, court geek, 20%, trial junkies, 27%, and ultimate jurors, 33%. Yeah, gotta be comfy. Sitting here all day. I was surprised. I got this chair used. It looked brand new. And it is an office chair. It's kind of curved with the circle seat. I'm really loving that circle seat. But it's super comfy. I didn't realize it was going to be that good. Jamie Jurors? What's Jamie? Oh, Jamie Jurors. Jamie Jurors. I don't know if I can say that. Jamie Jurors. Jamie Jurors. I have a hard time with the word juror. Jamie Jurors. Aw. What kind of work do you do, Miss Morales or C. Morales? I see a kitty. I think female. I could be wrong, but I think you're female. Y'all, we need to get subscribers. Come on. Dude. Gotta share. All right. Medical records. Oh, you are female. Okay, good. You never know nowadays. It used to be so simple. He or she. And I'm forbid I offend anyone. Don't try to. I'm gonna stretch. Oh, I'm gonna yawn. I feel bad. I don't think EDB's ever done that. So unprofessional of me. Oh, Mary's. That'll be awesome, Miss Kendrell. That'll be awesome. I want to give a shout out for Miss Kevin for covering me when we lost our power. I have ordered a power bank that will keep me going for like 10 minutes. And then that way I can recover. But it's $298. So that's my next purchase because I can't have lives going down. And that doesn't happen often here. This storm was unusually rough. We had flash flooding outside our parking lot kind of goes down and has a dip into the street. It's just enough, and it has a grate where the water goes into the gutter in the drainage system. But unfortunately, it gets covered with a bunch of gravel, and then it starts flooding up. And we had water all the way up to our curb, which is a big deal. That's about 4 feet of water. And then some parts of town have stranded cars. We've had a house catch on fire. It's been a very eventful morning. And court's been a little odd. Okay, full blast, full strength coffee coming up. I gotta get coffee, y'all.
Right.
And
All
court's
right.
back.
Oh, yeah. As you're going to bring them out, go and bring Mr. Benefield back in.
I'm here getting coffee. I need coffee.
State, where's Mr. Benefield?
I call it Hellmart.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't realize it.
It took a long time for him to get here earlier too, so we just need our witnesses ready to go.
So I call it Hellmart because every time I go in there, somebody does something stupid with my dog.
Sorry?
Their dog tries to attack my dog. They comment. I get a lot of nice, but I get enough of the bad.
That was why, because our witness room is.
All right, Mr. Benefield, come on back in and resume the witness stand. You'll recall that you are under oath.
Yes, sir.
Sir, as we took that break, did anybody attempt to approach you or speak with you about your testimony, the evidence, or this case?
No, sir.
Yep.
Did you speak with anyone about your testimony, the questions asked of you, or the evidence of this case?
No, sir.
All right. Let's go and bring the jury in. You all go ahead and have a seat. Whenever you find your spots, just sit on down.
Whenever you find your spot,
Everyone
just
can
sit
have a
on down.
seat. Members of the jury, during that break, did anybody discuss the case amongst yourselves, discuss the case with anybody outside of the jury, or do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about? Everybody says no. All right, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, look
Mr.
at her
Benefield,
body
when
language
we
change. Oh,
last were assembled, we were waiting for you to answer the question whether you felt Ashley had married the wrong Benefield.
No, sir, I did not believe that.
Was it a joke?
It was an attempt to keep
watch her body language. It just totally changed.
communication open between us.
We've established that you were aware that Ashley left Doug in September of 2017.
Yes, sir.
And we've also established that following that, you expressed your support of her.
Yes, sir.
All right, now I want to direct your attention specifically to the month of November of 2017. Were you aware of a domestic violence injunction that Ms. Benefield sought and obtained from South Carolina court?
Yes, sir, at that time.
And did you express to Ms. Benefield
You asked the question.
your support of her after she obtained that domestic violence injunction?
Sustained.
Did you support Ms. Benefield in November of 2017 following the issuance of a domestic violence injunction?
Not specifically about that, sir.
Do you recall expressing your support on Saturday, November 4th, 2017?
I don't remember that specifically, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield, I'm going to show you a document, see if this refreshes your recollection.
This is so slow. How slow can we go?
Areas that I check, refresh your recollection.
Yes, sir. Those appear to be my statements.
All right, the recollection having been refreshed, Mr. Benefield, on November 4th, following the issuance of the domestic violence injunction to Ms. Benefield, did you express your support to her?
There are two problems with your question for me, sir. I'm going to ask you.
Would you answer my question, and then you can certainly feel free to explain it.
I was unaware of I believe I was unaware of any result of any pending case in South Carolina at the time I texted that.
I thought you just told us you were aware.
I became aware after the fact when the mutual protection order was entered. I found out about it after the fact, but I don't remember the date of that event as it relates to the November 4th.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
State, any redirect?
No.
Can this witness be released?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, can this witness be released from his subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Sir, either the prior restrictions that I placed upon you are removed.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
State, call your next witness.
State calls Eva Benefield.
What's the first name? Is that the mother? Eva, what do y'all think about this? What do you think about this trial? Hi, Trial TV Live. How are you doing? How did we love all that little? Did y'all have or hear any of the problem with the video earlier, or was it just me? Or like right now? I enjoy having you here, Trial TV Live. Thank you so much. Hey, oh, that's daughter.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Judge White. I'm presiding over the case. Just make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about 12 to 15 inches from the microphone. It does adjust up, down, left, and right as you need it. Actually, you're just fine right there. I think that's close enough.
Okay.
Speak in a loud, clear voice, and we'll hear everything. Go ahead.
Please state your name.
Eva Benefield,
How do you spell your first name?
EVA,
And how old are you now?
23.
What was your relationship to Doug Benefield?
He was my father.
And who was your mother?
Renee Benefield.
And we heard from the previous witness, she died, unfortunately, at some time before this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first find out about someone named Ashley Benefield?
It was August of 2016, about 9 months after my mom passed.
Okay. And how did you find out?
My dad was on the phone when he picked me up from school, and he had his phone on speaker, and they mentioned him having a girlfriend, and if he was going to bring his girlfriend to a conference that they had that weekend.
And was that the first time you had any information that there might have been a girlfriend?
Yes.
So they
old
met
were you
before the
at
conference.
time?
I was 15.
At the time, were you upset with him about that?
No, I just told him that I trusted him, and if that's what made him happy, that I would be happy for him.
And about how long after that did you find out they were married?
It was 2 days after.
And how did you find out that they were married?
My dad came up into my room, and he said, "Eva, we need to have a chat downstairs with Ashley." She was at the house at the time, and I said, I don't think we need to. I understand that you're dating her and you're happy, but please just, give me my space a little bit. I don't want to have a conversation." And he said, "No, I think it's really important we do." And I said, "The only time that I would want to have a conversation with y'all is if you told me that you were going to propose." And when those words came out of my mouth, he told me that they were married.
Found out they were married.
Yes.
Poor
Did
baby.
Ashley eventually move into your house?
Yes.
And that was the house in South Carolina?
Yes, ma'am.
At the time, who all lived in the house? Just the three of you?
Yes.
How was their relationship together that you saw?
They were just with each other all the time. It was very lovey-dovey. They were very touchy-feely, PDA. Any event with school or extracurricular that I was in, they were together. They'd go grocery shopping together, go travel together. They never left each other's side.
Okay. And how did you and Ashley get along?
It was friendly at first.
Okay. You said at first?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Over time, she tried to reprimand me a little bit more and kind of step into a motherly role. And I did not like that because it was so short after my mom passed away.
Okay.
Relevance.
Sustained.
And in Ashley's interactions with you, or interactions that she had or disagreements that she had with your father, how did you observe her to act?
Can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, it wasn't a good question. Whenever she had a disagreement with you, how would she act?
It was almost temper tantrum like. It was
Objection. Impermissible character evidence.
I'm sorry.
Character evidence.
Overruled.
Okay, so it was temper tantrum like, and you didn't sound like you were finished. What were you saying?
she would go directly to my dad and tell him that I wasn't obeying.
And did her reactions to you seem to be on the level of the situation, or did she get more angry at the situation?
Usually they were overreactions over small things.
And how about interactions with your dad? Did you ever hear her argue with your father?
I heard her strongly voice her opinions over and over and over again.
Okay. Now, you said over and over and over again. Is that something that you heard on a regular basis or something you only heard once?
It was on a regular basis.
Okay. And when she was voicing her opinions to your father, was he ever reacting to that?
No, he would just sit quietly and listen.
Did you ever see them fight?
No.
Verbally fight?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see them physically fight?
No.
That's a big deal.
How often would you say that Ashley's father would disagree within your hearing?
Never.
Okay. You said if Ashley was trying to get her point across that she would go on and on about that?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't term that as a disagreement?
No.
Okay. What would you term that as?
My dad just listened to her, voiced her concerns.
Did you ever hear your dad at any time yell at him?
No.
Did you ever hear your dad do something or say something that was controlling to her?
No.
Did you ever see or hear your dad threaten her?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Did you ever see or hear your dad threaten her?
No.
Did you ever see or hear your dad get physical with her?
No.
No further questions.
Cross.
Yes. Good morning, Ms. Benefield.
Good morning.
We met previously at a deposition, correct?
Correct.
And I apologize to you for meeting you under these circumstances. I'm required to ask you a few questions based on the testimony that you've given us. You lived in the house at
Very
the time
sad.
that Ashley and your father were first married.
Yes.
Tread lightly.
And you found out from your father
Hey, case one.
that he had married Ashley when he introduced her to you.
It wasn't when I was first introduced. It was a day after.
So the day after, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So your mother had passed away approximately 8 months earlier,
9 months.
9 months earlier. And your father, with no advance knowledge, came and introduced you to his new wife.
Yes.
There was a hole in the ceiling of the kitchen in your home, correct?
Correct.
You know what that hole was, how it got there?
Objection. Calls for hearsay.
I don't know if it will or not.
I would prefer the question not be asked.
Okay.
Can we approach?
Yes.
I think we're up to like 24 objections, something like that. Yeah, I don't agree with anybody discharging a weapon in a house. That would be a no-no. Massive no-no. But that doesn't mean that he intentionally or he did it. So, yeah. Hey, here's a good shot. Does. So I'm gonna do that and begin. So when I do this, you can see the paper back here. I have nowhere to put my papers. This is all my notes from this morning. So kind of like, yeah. So that'd be me now. We muted. I'm not muted. You can't hear me? I'm not muted. Oh, I'm sorry. This camera doesn't have a speaker. My bad. My bad. I said, that's my coffee in my new table thing over there. I'm going to set up over. Why don't I do this? Now you can hear me because I got both up. I'm going to put the TV tray over here so I can put my books and table on it. I don't like having it where you can see all this here. That's too distracting. I prefer to have it nice and clean. Yeah, I have to have both of them up for you to hear me. If I have only the GoPro, you can't hear me because I'm not using the audio. I need to figure out how to fix that feed. I guess we're going to go to lunch soon. This is just ridiculous. But you can see I've got my native art hanging there, my drum, my flute, which I don't have the light on to show you. And then my hat, and then my pictures. This wall's bare because I'm too close to it. Miss Kevin, you doing okay? Yeah. I wonder where Miss Diana is. Okay, back into court. Get the right view.
So I think the question that was pending, Ms. Benefield, was, did you know how?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
Let me back up. You told us there was a hole in the ceiling of your kitchen.
Yes.
Was that hole in the ceiling of your kitchen, can you describe it?
It was small.
Small, kind of round?
Yes.
Leading.
Consistent.
Oh, he's
with
crossed
an
again.
object,
Let me finish the question.
consistent with an object the size of a bullet?
Yes.
Overruled.
Were there holes in the drywall of your home?
There was one.
Was it from the closet
No.
outside to the drywall?
No.
Where was it?
It was near the kitchen.
Did you know how it got there?
Yes.
Was the hole consistent with the size of a fist?
Yes.
Was that hole patched?
Eventually.
Who patched it?
My father.
Did you know that your father studied close quarters defense in the Navy?
Yes.
And tell us what close quarters defense comprises.
Objection.
I'll allow it briefly so she can explain the basis of her knowledge.
Well, let me give the court a little better insight into this. Ms. Benefield, do you hold a black belt?
Yes.
And are you trained in defensive combat fighting?
Taekwondo.
Did you and your father often discuss different styles of defensive fighting?
We had the conversations when I was practicing when I was
Okay.
10.
And tell us were you trained in close quarters defense?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what it entails.
In hand-to-hand combat.
Okay. And it's the type of hand-to-hand combat where if confronted by a weapon, rather than turning and run, you're trained as to how to remove the weapon from the other person's hands.
Well, you're told to first ask for no conflict, and then if they proceed, yes.
Yeah. In other words, Your objective is to take the weapon away.
If there's a weapon involved, yes.
She can take care of herself. Good girl.
Were you aware that a domestic violence injunction had been issued by the court in South Carolina?
No.
Give me 1 second, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're still having flooding. It's still bad. Oh my gosh, it shouldn't have, it's exploding. It was supposed to get better. Oh gee gads.
One last question, Ms. Benefield. Was your dad fixated with Ashley?
I think they were fixated with each other.
Did you make a prior state? Whoops. Did you express at any time that your dad, your words, not mine, was fixated with Ashley?
I might have.
Give me just a moment, Judge.
Why don't you say, ma'am, have a moment, please? Don't give me a moment, Judge. It's huge. This storm is massive. It stretches it's all in the Gulf, kind of scattered. And then there's a line that moves from near that's El Paso, isn't it? Del Rio, I'm sorry, all the way across
Do you remember
Texas into Louisiana, Tennessee,
having your deposition taken?
Yes.
West Virginia.
I need page and line,
Um,
and I don't have a copy of it.
yeah, I was just first asking her the question. Do you remember sitting for a deposition?
Yes.
Let me pass to you this document and see if it refreshes your recollection.
Approach.
Y'all. This is so hard for her, and she's doing so well. Let me see who that is, y'all. I may have to go get the door. Oh, it's my son. We're good. He's probably soaking wet. Poor kid. Poor kid. It is so bad out there right now. I'm shocked he's here. Oh, We're talking, whoo, we're talking about the weather. He had a hard time getting here.
The word that you had used to refer to your dad's interest in Ashley was what?
When are you referencing?
In general. Was the word fixated? Was that the word you used?
Yes.
That's all.
Right, redirect.
No, thank you.
All right, can this witness be released?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, but no, so you know. All right, Ms. Benefield, you've not been released from your subpoena, all right? And the rule of sequestration has been invoked. What that means is that you can't be in the courtroom anytime that there's testimony being given or evidence being presented. Because this is being shown on TV or the internet or something, you can't watch it outside of court. You can't watch what's going on inside of court. You can't be inside of court. You also may not discuss your testimony with any other witnesses or any of the attorneys. Better practices don't talk about it with anybody else. And none of the other witnesses nor the attorneys can talk with you about what's going on in court. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And again, you're not released from your subpoenas. You need to remain available.
Okay.
All right. But for now, you're excused.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Another one? Are you kidding me?
All right, members of the jury, it's right about lunchtime, so let's go ahead and take our lunch break. It's just a couple of minutes before 12. In order to give you time to go and find what you want and everything, I'm going to ask you to be back in that jury assembly room downstairs at about 1:10. All right, so it'll give you about an hour and 10 minutes if you want to go somewhere. Certainly, there's plenty of places. If you haven't been in downtown Bradenton for a while, there's plenty of places up and down Main Street, 12th Street, all the way down to the water. There's some places on 13th, also some places a little bit south. Please leave your notes here. Do not discuss the case with anyone else outside of the jury or amongst yourselves. Please don't do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about. Remember also, it's kind of a small town. Sometimes it happens where jurors are sitting in one booth and somebody on the other side of that booth you hear talking about the case, or heard names that sound familiar or things that sound familiar. Remember, they may not know you're there. Just, hey, I'm on the jury. I need you to stop. If they don't, I need you to report it to the deputies as soon as you get back. All right, you're free to go.
Okay, guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to end this live in a minute because I want to try and keep them under 6 hours. So if I have to edit it for whatever reason, I can. And then we will hop back on. They're supposed to be back at 1:10. That's 12:10. I'll hop back on about 12 o'clock our time.
All right, have a seat. Before I let you all go, State, you had just mentioned that despite Eva Benefield not being released, you want her to remain in the courtroom.
Yes, pursuant to Marx's law and pursuant to the earlier discussion.
All right. Did you want to be heard?
She's the family member of the decedent.
No. Okay, then she'll be allowed to remain in the courtroom as the next of kin.
Okay, thank you.
All right, same with you all. I don't foresee, I mean, you said you exchanged witness lists, so you know who's going to be coming in the afternoon. Are there any that, because this morning we had talked about 4 different people, so 2 have testified. Whenever we get back, if there's any particular issues about any folks in the afternoon, let me know.
I hope you do, K-Swan.
Behind, so I'm not sure exactly when those other people will be coming out. So.
All right, we'll see you guys back here at 1:10.
Thank you. And we anticipate the jury coming back in at 1:15.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, y'all. We are going to step back and have some lunch, wake up, maybe even put a different shirt on. Who knows? So, with that, I hope you have a fabulous lunch. And I will be right back. Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.